You're watching the PlantX vodcast. Join us as we explore the inner workings of all things plant-based and all things PlantX, from the products and lifestyles to the people behind them. Now welcome our host, the man who combined his love of e-commerce and the plant-based lifestyle to create PlantX, Sean Dollinger.
Hey everyone, welcome to the PlantX Vodcast, Season 2, Episode 12. And we have Julia Murray on the call today. And we're super excited to hear about her plant-based lifestyle, what made her go plant-based, and everything about her. So on that note, before we jump onto that, I just would love to give everybody a little background on what PlantX is all about. So we're your one-stop shop for everything plant-based. So if you're looking for meal delivery, groceries, just for information on how to live a plant-based lifestyle, that's exactly what PlantX is all about. And this week some interesting things have come up. We see Oatly, one of the largest plant-based companies in the world, come out a couple days ago saying that there's supply chain issues and different struggles and challenges that they're facing. And we've seen that across the board, even with a company like Beyond Meat, where there's so much competition coming out in the space that it eventually takes away market share. It doesn't mean that plant-based living isn't growing rapidly or that people aren't interested in it. It's that there's so many new products coming out. And that's what we would love investors and shareholders to spread about PlantX. We're a platform. So at the end of the day, these challenges that these companies face, at the end of the day, it's so hard to take market share. While PlantX introduces thousands of products to our viewers, to our shoppers, to anybody who's interested in living a plant-based lifestyle. And I saw an article on Yahoo the other day that was quite interesting, plant-based versus vegan. And again, it really speaks about a high level point of a person who wants to live a plant-based lifestyle might not, worry about the environment or animals or, take it to a whole other level that, vegans might. And that's where people automatically go at the end of the day. While plant-based living is truly about living a plant-based lifestyle. Now at PlantX, we've taken it a step further than just the food or products you put into your body, but it's what you surround yourself with. And that's why we have one of the leading plant subscription companies in the world, bloomboxclub.com. And for any of you who haven't checked it out, it's quite impressive. And we're about to do a whole revision on the website, and I can't wait to launch that. And then just the way you carry yourself through life and the fitness platform that we're about to launch here in the next 2 weeks. So all of these things coming together create a very dynamic platform that it's not just about the products you put in your body, but how can you live a plant-based lifestyle? And that's truly what PlantX is all about. So thank you very much to our investors and shareholders for taking time out of your day to join us. And I know we had a little bit of adjustment on the time today. I am flying out this afternoon. So thank you for joining us live. And on that, Julia, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Well, I think that the first time that we spoke was a little over a year ago. It was one of the first, podcasts that I did. So it was fantastic speaking to you on that. And before we jump into anything on what we're going to ask you today, how do you take your coffee?
Oh, how do I take my coffee? Oat milk, usually. Little foam. I've always been a big foam person. So I'm always looking for that vegan milk that foams really nicely. And I really like the unsweetened vanilla oat milk from Earthzone. It's pretty good.
Awesome. Yeah, I love oat milk, and it's amazing how far the flavors have come. Before people who didn't live a plant-based lifestyle or were into milk, for example, when I tried selling them on almond milk or soy, et cetera, they were always like, it's okay. But then as soon as oat milk started hitting the shelves. It's amazing how you could convince people to give plant-based living a try.
It's true. Yeah, oat milk's my favorite by far.
Agreed. And maybe we could speak a little bit about your background and how you introduced a plant-based lifestyle. I know that you are a professional skier and your parents were, and all of these great things. So maybe you could speak about that.
Yeah. Well, we can take it way back. I was skiing at the age of 2, probably just at the same time that I started walking, I was on skis. And I ended up going to the Olympics in 2010 for ski cross after ski racing for all of my younger years and being on the World Cup circuit on the national team. But yeah, during that time of the Olympics, which was in my hometown, Vancouver 2010, which was really cool. I ended up blowing my knee 1 month prior to the actual race, and it was ACL, MCL, tibial bone bruise, like the works. I ended up flying off of this jump and tripling a feature, like going way too far, landing on the next jump and just squishing everything. So really bad timing, but I ended up competing anyways, and I ended up coming 12th. And then the next year I blew my knee again and at X Games. And then the next week I came second at World Championships without knowing it was blown again. So
That's amazing.
There were some interesting times for sure. But then since then I kind of decided, okay, I'm going to move on to something else and save my knees for when I'm 80 and still want to ski. And that's when I started going to school for communications, and then I started a breakfast cereal company, Jules Fuel, and then from that wanted to become a nutritionist because I was getting all of these questions around nutrition at the farmers markets. And that's when I was introduced to looking at plants for all of these anti-inflammatory benefits, because my knee was inflamed every morning from just, waking up, and I would have inflammation in my knee from all the surgeries I had. And so that was my entry level into plant-based eating, was the anti-inflammatory benefits, and it completely worked, which is really exciting.
And you noticed the changes right away, or did you have to introduce the diet or the lifestyle for a couple months before you felt the difference?
Well, yeah, I'm not really an extreme person, so I took about a year to transition from getting interested in eating more plants to fully calling myself vegan and actually using that label. And I didn't plan on using the label ever. I was just like, oh, okay, I'll start eating more plants. And I did notice a difference. I always ate really healthy. My mom, always bought organic, and we always ate a lot of plants, but I started just ditching the beef first, and then the chicken and the pork and all of the meat. And once I started ditching dairy, especially, I noticed less inflammation overall, and my skin cleared up as well. So it's kind of a process, and I always tell people it's about progress, not perfection. And that's pretty much the approach I took, and just focusing on those little things that you notice throughout the way, and seeing like, yeah, wow, this is making a difference. And I started running every single morning, and I still do that, and my knees really never inflamed. So
awesome. And I hear that all the time from, many viewers that, come and join the show, and people who are living a plant-based lifestyle, how eliminating the dairy, they see like incredible results right away. And then it's funny, but I guess it makes sense that people start with like the beef and then kind of trickle the way down. And that's really what PlantX is all about. As you know, we want to make people feel welcomed when they make that transition, because, it's very hard it's easy for a week, but if you want to transition into this incredible lifestyle that obviously you speak about the massive benefits to it, and you're not the only one, we keep hearing more and more of it.
I think that's so key, just having, welcoming people with open arms, and not saying, oh, you have to label yourself this or that, especially in the beginning. It just scares people off right away. It's like, oh man, everyone's going to look at me weird. I'm going to be the weird person at the dinner table. What am I going to order at restaurants? It's just all of this overwhelm comes upon you. And instead you can just be like, okay, I'm going to try to ditch 4-legged animals, or I'm just going to try to start eating more plants in general. And eventually that, just making that decision of eating more plants, it'll start pushing out the animal products just naturally. And and I think also a really good thing to do is just educate your own self on everything and make the decision for yourself. Because once you start diving deep into all those documentaries and the books by all the nutritionists and the doctors and, watching Cowspiracy and then eventually Earthlings and making that animal connection, it's so easy to not eat animal products. It's actually way easier to not eat animal products than to eat animal products once you kind of know the background of it all and make that connection. So education is super key and empowering yourself with that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree on the education piece because, some people think, oh, I'm just going to go gluten free. But then have you taken a look at some of those ingredients in there? And then if you watch documentaries on people who don't think that you should be vegan or plant-based, then you won't want to do that either, So it's like so confusing out there. So I agree with you. You need to take the time to educate yourself and listen to your own body, right? Like what you did, you introduced the plants to your diet and you're like, wow, I could, ski again, I could run again, and all these amazing things. For me, I've lost over 60 pounds and the transition where before I had this terrible anxiety and then now it's like stronger than ever, and it's amazing. And it shouldn't be if you start listening to what everybody's told us growing up that, plant-based you can't do,
Yeah. Yeah. It's not an extreme thing. It's actually way easier than everyone puts it out to be. And I think you mentioned anxiety, but that just kind of made me think about the microbiome and my nutritionist brain came up and I'm like, the number one precursor to a healthy gut microbiome, which is connected to weight and anxiety even, and serotonin levels in your brain and hormone levels. The number one precursor to a healthy gut microbiome is the diversity of plants that you eat. So if you're focusing on whole plant foods, at least the majority of the time, and you're focusing on eating the rainbow, then things like weight loss and feeling even a little bit happier, it's going to come a lot easier than if you're going to, be feeding yourself processed foods or more animal foods. So diversity of plants is where it's at.
Love it. And one big thing that I get asked a lot, and you being an athlete, what are great snacks? Like if somebody's out on the mountain, as we know, sometimes the food's not the healthiest out there, even though Whistler does a fantastic job in introducing a couple things, but maybe things aren't convenient. What could you recommend to, somebody watching?
Love snacks. Snacking is just fun. I think, like I said before, focus on whole foods first. So if you are craving, say, like chocolate or cookies or whatever, you can focus on just having an apple first or some dates, and just, getting those whole foods in as much as possible. I personally like making a massive smoothie in the morning. And then if I'm hungry in the afternoon, then I just down some smoothie. And then I feel like that tides me over really well. I add complement protein powder to that too, which is a really clean protein powder, especially for after my runs or workouts. I like doing that. And then also complement plant bites are my favorite go-to snack right now. They're based on just either nuts and fruit or just fruit and some cassava flour to hold it together, but it's all based on real foods, which is really key. It's a theme, whole foods around here.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, for sure. Whole foods, very important. And, Julia, as you know, people join our show live, through all the platforms. We sometimes hit hundreds of views. So we really appreciate them taking the time. Thank you, obviously, for adjusting your schedule around. But we love to open up the floor to live questions so people get an opportunity. It's not every day that they get to speak to Julia. So it'd be great to do that. And somebody who's been really active today is Sean Adams. And we're going to go ahead and get him out a nice plant assortment of the different plants that we do through our Bloombox partnership.
That's awesome.
So, a couple more questions for you before we move on to those live ones. Let's discuss the vegan community in Whistler and Squamish. So obviously we've created something super unique in Squamish, but I'm up on the weekends in Whistler and there's such, from the green mustache to bread, which hands down, anybody who says you need to use butter to make amazing tasting pastries. I dare you to go try bread, because
Oh,
that's
that's
mind
so
blowing.
good. Yeah.
So maybe you could speak a little bit about the community and what, how it's growing.
Yeah, Natasha and Ed from Bread. Oh, it's so good. Everybody has to go. It's honestly the best sourdough I've ever had, like vegan
Agreed.
or not. And yeah, they know what they're doing there. And Green Mustache, of course. There's also a good vegan community on Facebook, the Whistler Vegans group. And, I've been to some potlucks that they do before COVID. I think it's happening again. But yeah, it's good. I think that people are finally, even restaurants in Whistler. I was just at Stone's Edge and having Modern Meat for their vegan 4-course the other day. And so Gibbons is even embracing some plant-based foods, which is really awesome. And what you're doing, Sean, in Squamish is the coolest thing ever. I just wish there was one in Whistler. That'd be great.
We're starting same day delivery to Whistler, by the way, in the next little bit. So
perfect. Awesome. But yeah, just like anywhere, people are catching on that, you don't need a label. You can just start eating more plant-based. And I think with environmental issues going on right now, people are really starting to realize that eating plant-based is the number one thing you can do as an individual right now today without waiting for governmental changes or anyone else to do anything. Eating plant-based or choosing the plant-based meal on the restaurant menu is the most powerful thing you can do for the environment. And people in Whistler really care about the environment because we want to ski forever on this mountain and we need snow for that. So that's a really, really great kind of pillar to focus on with everybody. And yeah, I see it happening. It's cool.
Awesome. And one thing we'll be introducing, which you're one of the first to hear it live on, not internally in the company, we're going to be starting our own kind of farmers market, somewhat on Thursdays in Squamish, but really just introducing the community to up and coming plant-based companies. So
Cool.
I just think that a lot of people think that it's just bread and pasta, but by giving out these samples, and where it was such a huge hit was in San Diego, we blew away opening day numbers even by giving away free product for people to try. Awesome. So we're going to be doing that once a week, and we're going to constantly be bringing in new plant-based vendors so that they could showcase their products and people could be like, wow, this is truly incredible, and we want to live a plant-based lifestyle.
Oh, that's awesome. People love free stuff. That's a great way to do it. And to just show people how delicious plant-based foods can be. You can have the taste, the texture, and everything that you ever wanted, and that nostalgia even. And yeah, the convenience is what you're really helping with, which is another really big pillar, in the affordability. And once we hit those 4, then, it's a no-brainer. Why not choose the plant-based option? So that's very cool.
Well, it always shocks me when I walk into our plant-based stores, and even though, I founded the company, I pinch myself. I'm like, wow, I don't even need to look at the ingredients. Everything in this place is plant-based. And then you start walking around and you're like, this is so cool. And I try to tell people that when they come into one of our stores and they look around, when people tell me that the plant-based, business or plant-based sector is only worth, I'm throwing it out there, like $30 billion because you get all these different things. I'm like, it's $1 trillion market. It's food. Every single person in the world needs to eat food. It's not like you're deathly allergic to plant-based food. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, that's how, how big this space and industry is. And I know that you've had a lot of vegan ventures, plant-based, et cetera. And one of the biggest challenges is obviously spreading the word, getting people to know about the companies because of how new the sector is. What have you done? What have you experienced? And what's allowed you to get to the next level?
Yeah, well, it all started with my blog 6 years ago because I wanted to just put all this information somewhere. And then I was sharing a recipe a week there for people just to, entry level. This is how you eat plant-based, super simple meals. And then since then, I've been introduced to the fine folks at No Meat Athlete. And so I'm their social media manager there, as well as Complement, their sister company, which is vegan multivitamin and protein powder and plant bites, like I mentioned. And there's so much happening there. And it's all, and then also 80/20 Plants, another sister company. which is an app helping people go plant-based. And throughout all of this, like I was saying in the beginning, it's all about welcoming people with open arms and giving them the education, and then they can make the choice for themselves. Everyone's a smart person, and it's just, making it a very welcoming, fun, and non-judgmental situation, because that's the only way we can create change. And so it's been really, really fun to spread the message in that way with this awesome team that I'm a part of.
Well, I love what you're doing, and all of the companies seem amazing that you're involved with. So, again, thanks for taking the time out of your afternoon to share with our shareholders and investors. And if you wouldn't mind, we've had a few questions come in, and one of them from Michael Grennan on YouTube. Does Julia take joint supplements like turmeric or sulfate, etc.?
So supplements is an interesting topic. I put turmeric in my smoothies, and with a little bit of cracked pepper, because it increases the curcumin in the turmeric, which is the active compound, by 2,000%. Pro tip. If you're having turmeric, add some pepper. But I don't take any turmeric supplements. The only supplement I take is, it's going to sound funny because I work with the company, but this is the reason I work with them. Complement Plus, it's called, and it's all of the essentials that you need in 3 capsules a day. And that's B12. Everybody, not even just only vegans, should be taking B12. EPA, DHA from microalgae instead of the fish, because we don't want the toxins and the pollutants that come with the fish and the overfishing of the seas. You can go straight to the source, to the microalgae, and get it from that. And D3, which right now there's no sunshine, so it's really important to take your D3. And then a few others: K2, iodine, zinc, magnesium, and selenium. And these are just really important minerals to have for everybody. Most people are low in these in general, and especially when you're going vegan and plant-based, it's nice not to have to worry about these common, perhaps might be low if you're eating a plant-based diet and not eating enough diversity of plants. And then also, the soil isn't as healthy as it used to be. So it's just important to have these, nutrients of importance when you're eating plant-based, especially because we want thriving vegans in this world. And so that's the only supplement I take. I also take some adaptogenic mushrooms from State Wild, which is just up in Pemberton, a friend of mine's company. And but I don't take any joint supplements, because I just make sure I'm eating a diversity of plants and taking these few essentials, and then I'm good to go.
Awesome. And, I'm torn when I speak about supplements, et cetera, because for me, I believe that, eating this kind of well-balanced plant-based diet, I feel great. So I think, again, it goes back to what we spoke about earlier: listen to your body, right? Like at the end of the day, if you're feeling that sluggish, feeling not great or anything like that, look into it and see really what it might be. But love the detail. This I never knew. Michael had another question, and I didn't know HP sauce wasn't plant-based or vegan. Have you ever had HP sauce, House of Parliament?
What would be in that? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. So he's saying, what could you replace the HP sauce with? So I thought that was.
Well, you could just do a little bit of vegan Worcestershire. And and a little bit of naked coconut. That stuff is really good. I do that quite often, that combo. Or when we're talking about sauces, I really like this pickle dressing that I make. And it's pretty much pickle juice, Dijon, a little bit of maple syrup, and nutritional yeast, and that's it. And that's what I put on all my salads. It's so good.
Sounds amazing. Definitely going to have to give that a try. And then Ralph Moxness asks, what protein do you put in your smoothies?
So I mentioned this earlier, but the complement protein is what I use, and it's only 5 ingredients without any sweeteners or fillers or additives, and just real foods ground up. So that's it's the minimalist way to go, and I think that's all you need to do. And also, plants have protein. Like, you don't need a protein powder. You can just eat as much, the variety of plants, and focus on legumes and soy products and all of these high protein plant foods, and you shouldn't need protein powder, but if you're an athlete, it's nice to have a little extra boost every now and then, or if you're a growing teen, or if you're over 55. And yeah, it comes in a biodegradable bag too, which is key.
That's awesome. And yeah, I just had this chat in the gym this morning. I was working out and with non-vegans and saying, Sean, I don't understand how you don't have protein. You're in here every morning. What's up? What's up? And I'm just like, hey, you know what? Back to what I said a little earlier. I find if you eat this amazing, like you said, put these incredible products in your body and the output is amazing, right? So
yeah, well, I mean, every plant has every amino acid. And people don't realize that, plants have protein, and a lot of the animals that are big and strong get their protein from just plants too. So it's very possible.
And then Caleb has a question, and it goes back to, and it's really interesting, when I was telling you when I was out of shape, not great, believe it or not, I needed 2 iron infusions, or actually 3 iron infusions to bring my iron back. But then while being plant-based, my iron levels are perfect. They're off the chart. Amazing. And Caleb asks, if you live a plant-based lifestyle, how do you get your iron? What's the best iron replacement? What should you focus on?
Well, yeah, I always tell people it's all about the absorption. Like you can eat iron-rich foods like, seeds and leafy greens, but if you're not eating them with vitamin C rich foods, then you're not absorbing it as well. And if you're drinking coffee or tea with it, then you're not absorbing it as well. So focus on iron-rich foods. You can just Google a whole list of them and make sure you're eating. So like spinach with oranges, for example, is a great combination. And also, when you go plant-based, it's sort of like your body knows what to do with the plants. Heme iron isn't really necessarily healthy, whereas non-heme iron, which is found in plants, is better. So yeah, just focus on iron-rich plant foods and eat them with vitamin C and you'll be good.
Well, thank you very much, Julia, for taking the time to share your knowledge with our investors, shareholders, customers. And thank you very much for going by the store, supporting us. It's, you're super healthy, super active. So it's amazing to hear it from someone like yourself, because you go against what everybody's been taught, that, you can't live healthy just by living off plants. And you've obviously proven that is just a myth. So thank you.
Right. And thank you for creating a heaven of a grocery store. I love walking in there and knowing I can eat everything. It's amazing.
Awesome. Well, hopefully I'll see you out there and we'll meet in person. Thanks, and have a good rest of your day.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much for joining today. I know that we had a few more questions come in, and sorry we didn't have time to get to them all. One person asked, and I believe it was Sean Adams, who asked, when is the earnings going to be coming out? And we are November 15th, so the next quarter does come out at the end of this month. And we started another quarter, obviously, in October, November, December. So, those will come out, obviously, in the new year. And one thing I wanted to point out to the viewers today, I don't know if anyone heard, but I believe it happened on Friday. Sol, which trades on the Canadian Stock Exchange, ended up getting a premium. I believe when you factored in the warrants and everything, they got a premium of 250% to where they're trading. And I think this should give investors indication, because I get calls all the time and I can't comment on our share price, whether we're undervalued, overvalued. I just cannot comment. However, seeing something like that should indicate where the plant-based space is going. I think, and believe it or not, it was a full cash offer. So it wasn't even like a company was creating stock in order to pay for it. It was straight up cash from a multi-billion-dollar company. So at the end of the day, I think that gives indication when people are saying, why? It doesn't make sense. You have all these stores, you have this e-commerce platform, you have all these incredible things, you have one of the leading plant subscription companies in the world. How does this make sense? And this should give you an indication on our sector and the Canadian capital markets as a whole at the present moment. And, again, just do your research, do your due diligence, visit our stores like I encouraged on our last podcast. Go ahead and shop. Check out our customer experience, customer service. Give it a call. Don't even buy anything and see what it's all about. Until next time, stay curious, stay planted, stay healthy. Cheers.
Thanks for watching the PlantX podcast. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. For more information, go to investor.plantx.com. See you next time.